Hey guys, I'm going to do a video on overflow valves for Ppump, whether it be on a 12 valve or a 6.7 or VP44, just Ppump in general, which will go to any of the other Ppumps, you know, like on an 8.3 or something like that. Just to show you guys, you know, if you have a welder, you don't, you know, you can modify the one that you have if you have a fast unit, or if you just want to up your pressure with a stock style pump, you can to a certain extent. And then I will show another video later on upgrading your lift pump, your stock lift pump. But anyways, we'll get after here. So here's the overflow, an overflow valve. So here's a factory overflow valve, or factory style. They're not all exactly the same. Now, some of them don't have this removable, and if this isn't removable, which actually looks like this, when you pull it out of there, if it doesn't have that, you can't do this. So you will need one that does have a removable end on it. So if you take this all apart, it consists of just a couple pieces. I've been into this one before, but so it'll have inside here there is a seat for this ball to sit on. Now basically all it is just a pressure relief by pressure and a spring. And what you can do, so if you're running a factory lift pump, this is what the spring's supposed to look like. So let's just change that out. So if you're running a factory setup, lift pump, I mean, what you can do is you take this out and take the spring and spread the spring like that one. You can see how much difference there is, and that's going to load this ball seat a lot harder. Now, another thing that I do is if you take a trusty pen, this is actually one of the shop pens, but if you take a pen apart and you take a pen spring, clip it in half. So you take a pen spring, pair of side cutters, clip spring in half, which obviously wrecks the pen, but take that and put your ball back in there, and then put the extra spring inside there. Drop it down in there. Make sure you get it in the middle, which sometimes can be a little bit interesting. Usually not that bad, usually. There. So all you do is it just loads that spring seat much harder. Now, obviously, depending on how long the spring is, and then you want to tighten that back up. Make sure you put this, I didn't just put that washer back in, but make sure you put that washer in or it'll leak. But for you guys that, Torque Technologies they actually build an adjustable one of these. So you can just do that if you want. Buy an adjustable one, you can turn it up and down. Now, for guys with fast units, you can buy these from Torque Technologies, and I've bought them over the years. Nothing wrong with the product, great product. And if you don't have access to a welder of your own, or somebody that can do a couple spot welds for you, then this is a cheap option. And like I said, I've run lots of them. I actually have one in my truck. I had a couple that from, I don't know, ordering them in or laying around. This one's been used. It's been in my toolbox for a long time, but and basically all it is it just has a hole in it and then a hole drilled in it. So this is something you have to use on if you're going to use a fast unit or an air dog. I would recommend one of these versus one of these. Now, what you can do is put more spring in this so that it doesn't open. Is easy, but it's easy to get a fuel pressure drop if you're running one of these, because as soon as it starts to bypass, then it bypasses, right? So one of these just limits the amount that it can bypass off, so that it bypasses in the pump, the lift pump, instead of at the pump. But you still want some flow through here, just so that if there's any air or any of that type of stuff, that it can do away with that for you. So you can buy these. They're not that expensive. But if you have a welder, so this was this. So all I did was I just welded up the hole on this side and the hole on this side and drilled a 1/16 hole here. And it's basically the exact same thing. Something that you do is you do want to make sure that you clean inside here, because sometimes you'll get a little bit of welding spatter in there. So you want to make sure you get that all cleaned out before you put it back together. You can clean it with a file or screwdriver most of the time. And then you just, all you do is you leave this stuff out. And then you just put this back in. Tighten that. And there you have the exact same thing. So not rocket science, but I've had a couple of guys asking about it. So you can, you know, upgrade it if you're going to upgrade your factory one. If you're going to run your factory pump, I just recommend stretching the spring out. You put a pen spring in there and it adds more seat pressure. And that works quite well for that setup. If you know, if you have it, put a gauge on it, then you can see what it actually has. If you don't have a gauge on it, you just bump the pressure up. I personally like to be above 40 PSI at wide open throttle. On the 160 and 170 horse pumps, I prefer to be even higher than that. The more the better, to a certain extent, obviously, but they like lots of fuel pressure. And the reason for that on the 160 and the 175 horse pumps is the window time that the port is open for fuel to go in it is very short. So the more pressure you have, the more fuel it jams into basically the plunger or the port, so that it can push out to your injector. And on the 180 horse and the 215 horse pumps, the port time is a lot larger, so that it can flow. It has a longer time period for the fuel to flow in there. But it doesn't hurt it. Even the 215 horse and the 180 horse pump, being that there's not a huge gain. But I run my stuff, like my daily drivers at 50 PSI at wide open throttle. So, and I just like it like that. The fast pump, fast or air dog, whichever you prefer. They're a little noisier when they're that high, but yeah, nature of the beast. It's a 12 valve, so you can't hear it over it anyway. So anyway, guys, you know, check out, if you like this video, like and subscribe. If you, you know, check out some more of my videos. I got a bunch more videos. If you have any ideas, comment down below and I'll try to get a video out for whatever you're after. All right. Thanks, guys.